Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of the Town Social. Well, as we fastly approach the festive season, Huddersfield Town treat us to another feast of football. 2 games against Bolton Wanderers and Lincoln, and coming off the back of 4 wins, it looked like we were conjuring the old ghosts of Christmas past with typical Town nothing performance at Bolton after we all had such a positive podcast last episode. The least said about the better, although we will touch on it a little bit. But then we all skipped down to the John Smiths to play a Lincoln side who promised to be, on paper, quite difficult despite the poor run of form. Town seemingly forgot to turn up for the first 45 minutes and then remembered that we actually wanted to win the game in the second half. It was feisty, it was fun. Ultimately, a point. It's better than nothing under the circumstances. But is it good enough? Are we top 2 material? What do we need in January? Well, Kevo's done another diary, hasn't it? So we can sink our teeth into that and we can start looking ahead and seeing where we sit at this moment in time. My name's Nick Barler. I'll be your jovial host for this evening. And joining me, as ever, is Mr. Ian Kilroy, Gaz K and Andy K. Gents, welcome. Welcome to all you listeners out there. Feel free to get your comments and your questions on and we'll talk through these 2 games together. But let's start, guys. We're not going to dwell on it too much, but I think it's important we have a little chat about the Bolton game. Coming off the back of such a good run of form and a good win at Mansfield, this was a chance to, let's say, mix it up massively, but maybe, some of the, your busy Andy, get your Pender in and some of the other players and give them a test. Bolton, I mean, it's one of the most difficult fixtures we probably could have got on paper for the competition. So it's never going to be easy, but I mean, Gaz, right from the first whistle, Town just never looked in it, mate. And let's be honest, I just don't think the midfield worked. I think we got overrun. I think first half was slightly better, to and fro, but then we just let the bloke on his own. I think Ruffles loses his man, and it's just a free header into far corner, nice and easy as it comes.
I don't think, looking at the lineup, I don't think Michael Duff was that bothered. And we were disparaging it, weren't we? Last time we were talking about what's the point of it? Are we really that bothered? And it seems that, I don't know whether Michael Duff was listening, but he seemed to pick up on that vibe, didn't he? By playing Danny Ward in centre midfield. I know Hogg got injured in the warm up. Is he ill? Everybody seems to be ill. Has he got fucking flu or cold or whatever?
Calf out for 6 weeks, isn't he?
Jesus Christ. But we ended up with Danny Ward playing in midfield, as you say, Ruffles playing on the left, and a 3 centre halves who look like they'd rather be anywhere else. I think they wanted to be in Berlin with me rather than at Bolton Wanderers Stadium. And I was quite enjoying, they did quite enjoy the ongoing commentary in the Town Social WhatsApp group. The air was blue. Because he wants to be listening to that. If he thinks Town fans are moaning on Saturday, because you want to have seen our WhatsApp group during Bolton game, mate. But yeah, it sounded like a tepid performance by a team that I'm not sure they were that bothered for it. But yeah, I haven't got a lot more to add on it, Nick. I don't think.
You said that, Gaz, but I tell you, one person who was up for it, Ian. You went down, mate, didn't you? You braved it. You braved the cold weather on a Tuesday night, going to Bolton, thinking, "Come on, lads, surely we can turn up here and get a performance." I mean, you must have been feeling a bit let down by it, mate, because like watching it at home, I was pissed off, but I hadn't made that journey, so God knows how you must have felt, mate.
The thing with it, the thing that just really pisses me off with the entire game against Bolton isn't the result, because the result doesn't particularly matter, like you say. No one really cares. I think a bad performance can damage a team, and obviously it's skipping forward to what happened in the first half against Lincoln. You could possibly suggest the same thing there, but after such a positive game against Mansfield, where the team found a way to win against conditions that were very unfavourable for any team in this division, right? But we found a way to win and win deservedly, not beautifully, but deservedly. To then put in that shite against Bolton was embarrassing. And again, it don't matter, I guess, to most people, because it's a shitty cup game that no one's really that bothered with. And Bolton, when we played them initially away from home, obviously we turned them over pretty handily in the league. they were in a real poor run of form. And since then, Ian Everett's got on back singing a little bit. There were calls for his head when we played him in the league, whereas now everyone's kind of settled down with Bolton. And if you look at the last 2 or 3 seasons, Bolton have progressed every season. And they've made playoff final and failed, and semi-final, and failed. But they're kind of trending in the right direction, albeit not at a pace you expect. So it's a different game going into it. And now Bolton have got history in this competition. I think they've won it. Have they won it twice in the last few years? Or they made the final twice in the last few years? Anyway, so it does actually matter to them. You wouldn't have told it if you saw how many people were in the stadium, of course. It looked very, very empty. But to put out that kind of performance with Town, what really frustrated me was that I think we can watch the games now, and you can see that the weaknesses we've had at the beginning of the season have kind of dissipated a little bit. Not all gone, but we've got a little bit more belief, a little bit more fight. But it just shows you that when that midfield three isn't Ben Wiles, Kasumu, and Herbie Kane, we're shite. There's just nothing in there. And it's maybe not the individual's talent, because I know Andy's on here with very careful what I'm saying on individual abilities and the players. It's not that, but as a unit, Town only seem to perform when those three are performing together. And anything else in that middle, everything else falls apart really, really quickly, because that's what it was like against Bolton. And straight away, it felt wrong. It felt like we didn't want to be there. Brodie Spencer against Bolton, for whatever reason, looked as embarrassingly bad as Tom Edwards did against Leeds last year. And that will always be, by the way, my throwback to how bad a performance is. I'll compare it on the Tom Edwards at Leeds scale. But it was losing race. Brodie Spencer is an international footballer. He's 20-year-old. Is he 19 or 20 now? He's around there. But he's got quite a few appearances under his belt. He's not slow, but he was made to look pedestrian against Bolton on Tuesday night. And there were just individual things like that really. Like Chapman's been perfect all more or less all season, and he's made a mess up after Lonvit overcooked a pass to him. Who Nigel Lonvit looked half-assed in that game as well. Kind of went into it a little bit yesterday, again in the first half, but they were just the entire team's performance against Bolton was meh. It was a bit, why are we even here? But I don't know if it was choice or if it was just that when that midfield's not working together, we can't seem to get anything. But the Johnny Ogg thing and not playing and Danny Ward starting, that blagged everyone at home and there. No one knew what was happening. No one updated anyone. And all of a sudden, Danny Ward's walking about in midfield. And to be fair to Danny Ward, I must say, in that first 20 minutes, it was probably the best midfielder we had. It was doing okay. Obviously, he burnt out and it went downhill from there, but it was just far too easy for Bolton, wasn't it? And I think when you're a team going for promotion in any division, if you're playing another team in that division in a cup game, and our team was pretty strong, wasn't it? Bar Tom, there was no real weaknesses in the Bojan Radulovic. Oh, honestly, do we have to go over that?
Come on.
Well, it's just there wasn't that many weaknesses, but it felt like we were just there to make up numbers. But when you look at the individuals we had actually selected, we should have done much better than that. So even though, the result doesn't matter, the performance, I think, just wasn't great. And I thought we were kind of past that.
I think for me, we're being a bit hard. I thought first 10 minutes, I thought we did all right. Karamas pulled that save out the goalkeeper, which is an absolute fucking blinder, be right fair, in the second or third minute. If that goes in, we're 1-0 up and it could be a different game. He's had another chance as well in the first 10 minutes. And I sat there in my hotel room on Putney Bridge in London watching on my bloody phone. So I can't tell you much detail because they're all little tiny figures running around. I thought, we're going to be all right here. I remember thinking we're going to be all right here after the first 10 minutes, and then it just spectacularly fell apart when we finally realised on our WhatsApp group that Ward was playing and it wasn't whoever we expected it to be up front. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, they just became dysfunctional, didn't it, after that? We seemed like square pegs in round holes, and yeah, Tom didn't have the best of games by any stretch of the imagination. I think Stephen Chicken gave him 3 out of 10 in his ratings, which, I'm not related to him. I'm not a member of his family. So, I can see when the kid doesn't play as well as he could do. Frustrating thing for me was that he will have prepared for one role, which was probably going to be a number 10 role, and then he's had to switch positions. At 19-year-old, I don't care who else. If you're playing with Danny Ward and who else is in there, Kasumu, who they didn't really want to play anyway, who I thought was immense yesterday, but not so immense on Tuesday night. That's a tough gig. I mean, it's part of his learning. I think, diverging off a little bit, I don't know anything, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out on loan, hopefully to a League Two club in January. But yeah, after that first goal went in, there were just no fight, no energy, no nothing really. So yeah, that's disappointing. I fancied a trip to Wembley, but like you say, that's a tough draw. of the Northern half. That's probably the toughest one we could have got, and we ended up getting what we deserved. I mean, they scored all 4 goals, didn't they? Really, with that lucky own goal that we scored at the end. So just mark it down to experience and walk away. Can't change it. So yeah.
We might still end up at Wembley, mate. Don't worry, in playoffs, because we're not fucking top 2, that's for sure. But you might get there in the playoffs anyway. Who knows? But I didn't look. The first half I thought were pretty even. Like you say, Andy, we had some chances. Second half, I think the referee, Mr. Jackson, I think must have had some sort of quarter of cards that he needed to it, and he'd obviously he shat himself because he hadn't booked anyone in first half because. Suddenly we got like 3 yellow cards in space of like 2 minutes. And I just thought we just looked second half. We just didn't look up for it at all. As soon as we came out, I thought it was really sluggish. Just couldn't get to grips with it in midfield. It looked disjointed. And you're right about the Openda. Andy, I think he needs a loan because you can't really have a go at him too much for a bad performance because he's not playing regularly. So how can you really get, even if he's in the right position, how can you get up to speed properly and find any rhythm when you're playing 1 game in 20 or what? So I think, and maybe, if we get some players back or get someone else in January, maybe we'll go out, and I think that's the best thing for him, for his development. But yeah, we didn't really lay a glove on him, did we, to the second half? I mean, we got the goal at the end, and it was nice from Sorensen, a bit of aggression down there, got it in, and that's what you get. Sometimes you get a bit of luck with it, don't you? But the game's dead and buried by then. Pratasing about at the back, Longlight just smashes it straight to Chapman, and I don't really blame him that much because he should have just cleared it. I don't really know what they're doing there, but just the game's over from that point, and it is what it is. I mean, are we bothered though, lads? I mean, the thing is, like, Michael Duff and his president didn't seem that bothered, did he? I don't know. I mean, I think in a season like this where the aim's promotion, is it just a distraction? I mean, was anyone really? You want to keep the run going, but at the end of the day, was anyone that bothered we've exited this competition?
I'm not bothered. I think it gives us the chance to play players in competitive games to keep them bubbling under to come into the first team when needed. So likes of Tom or, people coming back from injury like Evans, or give the human Chris Packett yet another chance up front. So I think it's got its uses, whether they could replicate that in another way. B team fixtures are just not the same, are they? So I think it's disappointing only from that aspect for me. But the question that I've got that's just occurred to me, if Killer's got Tom Edwards' performance away at Leeds has been the worst performance ever by a Town player, something for our socials potentially, what's the best performance ever that's at the other end of the scale? You can't have a scale that just has one end of it. So who's at the other end of it? I know that's not for us now, but that's just... No,
we'll revisit that, Nick, at the end of this podcast, right? That gives us half an hour or so, right, to be able to think one up each. I think we can revisit that at the end of the one. I actually do have one in mind, but I'll need to just double down on it because there's definitely nothing worse than Tom Edwards at Leeds, so we've definitely got that one sewn up. But there's probably a few nominations. There's probably a few nominations for the other end, but I think that's a good one to go over, Andy. But no, Nick, it's not the end of the world being out of it, but teams that perform well and perform at the end of the season well, they don't have this lack of ruthlessness that we certainly have at certain points. It's not a problem, but it's a symptom of an issue. And the thing is, you've got to be at it all the time to achieve in football. You do, because 23 other teams in the division are trying to win the games. There's no dead rubbers. Everybody wants to win. Footballers are, as people, competitive. It's in the nature of the beast to be a pro footballer. You have to be competitive. You have to be cutthroat. We just weren't. And these moments where we're not, and obviously we're going to get onto this Lincoln game probably now. And I honestly think when you see problems like that once, it doesn't just happen once in a season, it happens again. And it's a worry. It's not the end of the world, and there's ways around it, absolutely. But it's just a little bit of a step backwards, I think, from where I thought we were. And then seeing that against Bolton, because like I say, bar a couple of players, it were first choice team, but the effort levels for me weren't quite there.
Well, we talked about the selection, didn't we? About I've seen a bit on social media criticising Turton on one side and Ruffles on the other as their proper fullback. So effectively, it was a back five, not a back three with two wing backs. And then when he changed that second half, so I think I'm not sure he could have stuck Carone back in there, but who did we had on the right hand side if Sorensen's not fit enough? I think it's always got to be Turton based on his previous couple of games. But I think, he's probably got the selection wrong. You don't want to be sitting at home with the back five against a team that's below you in the league if you're going to get top two. I agree with Nick. I don't think we're going to get top two. I don't know who will be second behind Birmingham yet, but I don't think it'll be us. But I think he's got that selection wrong. It just seemed to be they pressed us. Like, I really impressed with them first half in terms of their pressing, and they seemed to be number 6. I don't know the guy's name. Ran it for them. 18 for them was a complete shithouse. Now, we didn't get booked by that referee for being spoken to 3 times for 3 different fouls on 3 different players was beyond me first half. And then Danny Kadamata's lad, Bailey. I'll tell you what, I'd have him up front. He's better than the human Chris Packett. He's better than Freddie Ladapo. I think he's got something about him. So he's probably going to stay at Lincoln, you would imagine, all season. But yeah, impressed by him, I thought. But we just didn't. It's for me. Kane is a real key figure. Wiles was a bit anonymous first half, and Kane seemed to be receiving the ball most first half, facing towards our own goal. And I don't know whether that's because he was under pressure a lot from their press, but he wasn't getting chance to turn and get his head up and ping balls until second half. So I think that affected us quite badly. But yeah, first half, I'd agree with Gaz. I think it was probably one of the worst 45 minutes of football I've seen this year from us. But yeah, counterbalanced by a decent showing second half for me.
It's a big take, that, looking at some of the games we've had this year. Bloody hell. Stephen Shepherd, evening, mate. Thanks for joining us again. Worst ref I've ever seen. That he said awful. I think that was back to the Bolton ref, but we've got another strong contender in this Lincoln game, I think, which we'll get on to. But yeah, Mark Harrison says game of 2 hours. Lincoln were spitting mad with how that second half went. Started playing rugby in the penalty area too. Well, yeah, we'll get on to that. But yeah, the first half, I thought, Lincoln looked decent. But we kind of talked about it before that they have potential to be dangerous, although they're on a poor run of form. They've got players that can hurt you, got a bit of pace about them, direct, bit of physicality. It's going to be tough. And Ian, let's break it down, mate. Let's discuss the goals in detail. It's a good move. First goal, it's a good move down the right side. It's a good cross and it's a good header, isn't it? And I mean, that comes after 15 minutes, and then you're thinking, oh, bloody hell, this could be a long day. That goes in because we haven't really done much up to that point, and then bang. It was a well-worked goal, to be fair, from Lincoln, though.
Yeah, it was, but the thing, so Lincoln have generally been playing with wing-backs. They normally play a similar system to what we play. And going into the game, I think Town expected that to be the setup Lincoln went with, and they didn't. They changed entirely and went with a pretty much more of a standard 4-3-3. And I think that really threw Town and affected our preparation for this game, because not many people thought that's how they'd do it. But Duff spoke about something after his post-match conference, and when you listen to what he said, it makes more sense, I think, what went wrong in that first half. He was saying the day before the game in training, they'd been working a lot more on retaining possession and playing out from the back. And what that does with teams that aren't natural with it is it just slows everything down. It slows everything down and stops that urgency. It stops that ruthlessness, again, I think you need to break teams down at home. Now, we've played a few games in a row at home, and I think Town have fallen into this false sense of security that everyone's going to come to Town and defend and just hope to stay in the game. And now Lincoln didn't do that. They had a system we weren't ready for. They didn't sit back. They came at us, and they don't have any great individuals. I broke it down on the Takes That Chance driving and got my prediction wrong this week, miserably. But it was more that they aren't a team that are just going to sit there. They have patterns of play. They like to take it to other teams and do the best they can. Town haven't faced that at home for so long. You could see we were a bit shell-shocked. It's a bit the goal that someone else is going to come and have a go at us. And it's the first time in a long time that I can remember where a team's done that to us. Well, obviously, how many did we won at home in a row before that? Was it 6 in a row prior to this game, I think? And we just looked all over the shop. And even the selection, though, I thought the selection was pretty iffy. I've really fallen in love with Duff again in that he came in as a 3-5-2 manager. I am well known for hating the back three. I think it's got loads of problems. I think it's good if you're scrapping to stay in a division. I think it's fine if the other team does go defensive. Oh, there's a dog here barking on. If you go really defensive, if the other team go defensive, you can overload down the wings with wing backs. I accept that. I can appreciate that. But I think you struggle to play it all season the same way. Oh, I have to beat that dog up in a second. I don't know what's going on here. But the problem is that in certain games you can't do it because it becomes predictable and one-dimensional. So they've got to sort something else out, and we didn't react to that. Turner and Ruffles playing as fullbacks just creates such a back five for us. We had so many players in that back line, so when we started passing around slowly, it's just inviting Lincoln on. They knew we couldn't get too many men forward too quickly, and it just really disrupted Town. First 45 minutes yesterday looked nothing like the Town we'd seen at any point in this season up until now. We had the distinct weaknesses against Northampton and against Bristol Rovers, but we're very different again to what we saw yesterday in that first 45 minutes. Lincoln didn't really create too many chances. It's not like they should have been further ahead and put the game to bed. No. And it is good in the second half we got our shit together, and that's a real positive. But it's just very strange to have seen it because I didn't expect it at all. And I just think it's that setup that they went with that Town weren't ready for.
But they used the width, though, didn't they? And although it was a 4-3-3, when they had the ball, it almost was a 3-4-3. They had bodies forward and into the box. Hackett on the left and Derico on the right causes all sorts of problems. And when you compare how our two wide wing back, full backs, whatever you want to call them, were playing compared to theirs, it was night and day. They were rangy, they were attacking, they were tricky with the ball, and both goals came from them guys making stuff happen in our final third. I thought they'd obviously done the research. They were dropping the ball onto our wide centre halves. Pearson was in all sorts of trouble. I mean, obviously he went off injured eventually, but Pearson was all over the shop before that anyway. And I'm with you, I thought it was a really nice goal. By the way, Ian's favourite, Ben Wiles, lets that bloke run. So Wiles tracks him to the edge of the box and just stops.
Yeah, he did.
And the guy carries running.
That one, guys.
But he's obviously got the run on Turner at that point, so he's always going to out jump Turner for the header. It was a lovely cross and a good goal. But I think they're probably that 45 minutes. I think you have to give Lincoln real credit. I thought they were great. I think as bad as we were, I thought they made us look bad. We hardly got a kick first half. They dominated us in a way that probably no other team has done so far this year at the Town ground, I don't think.
Well, that's it though, guys, wasn't it? It wasn't that they were just smashing it quick and we couldn't turn around quick enough and get back. And it wasn't like that kind of raw football tactics that we just had no answer for. They outplayed us.
The first goal, when they put Derico away, there were three tidy little passes in the middle of their own half. And then they pinged the ball out. As that three Town players came to close him, he just pinged it with his left foot right out to the other side of the pitch to block in 40 yards of space. It was really good football.
It's good football, but to me, it just showed that we need pacier wing backs. we need more wing backs in January. This is, to me, that first half was a perfect example of why. But they're a good side. I don't know why they surprised them though, Ian, because this is how Lincoln always play. Like they're not the best to concede goals, but they'll always try and play football. They'll always try and come at teams. They're not a sit back and defend meek little side. They're a good side. So I don't really know what they're expecting. We've got umpteen statisticians, haven't we, and analysts doing all the work behind the scenes, and they played exactly how I expected them to. So I don't really know why that shocked us. Whether we just thought because we'd won so many, we just needed to turn up and get the job done. But surely by now we've learned that that's just not the case.
I think that's it though, Nick. I think you're right. I think Town, I've expected to win just by turning up yesterday. I think we've kind of got a few wins behind us, our backs, and then we think, right, we're at it now. We're not the complete article, but we can handle this. We can do it. And as soon as we turned up and Lincoln asked a few questions and we had to shift, we have an inability to do it. And it just felt like that to me, Nick. That's how it looked. It's exactly how it looked to me.
Second goal from left-hand side gets cut in and then it bounces around a bit. It's a back flick and, I mean, the bloke, Bailey Kadamatre, I think it's Makama, lays it off and then he's turned and shot. And I don't know if Longvite sticks a leg out, if it deflects off him and in, but it's a smart little finish, to be fair. And at that point, we're only, 25 minutes in, 2-0 down, and you're thinking this looks like Northampton all over again, doesn't it?
I think he's a Town fan, Bailey Kadamatre, from what I understand. Obviously, with his dad playing for us, I think there's been pictures of him wearing the blue and white. So maybe it's destiny that he comes and likes for us, because he'd offer more mobility up front than Danny Ward did yesterday, and he looked like a decent physical presence to me. So impressed by him.
The goal came from the guy in the left packet doing what Derico had done for the first goal. Really found an acre of space, and it was a really cute move because he rolled it into a guy on the 6-yard box. So I was convinced he was going to whack it with his left foot. Cute little flick behind. The other bloke laid it off, and then Cadamarteri's movement meant he got a yard of space to get a shot off. It was a really nice goal. I think it was going in anyway, by the way. I think if Longway can't have touched it, it'd have gone in the far corner anyway. I think it was because Chapman was going to his right and the ball was going to his left. But I thought they were deserved too. You know, at that point, we've been sitting off and letting it happen, and they would deserve 2-0 lead at that point. I honestly thought if they'd have got one more goal, it would have been game over.
It just that goal though, guys. It wasn't really good football, was it? It was kind of just they build pressure, and if you get the ball in the right places, sometimes it just kind of falls to you. I know there was some nice little passing in there, but I didn't think it was outstanding. I just thought, and there wasn't really much Town could do, but that's what happens in football if you give the other team more possession, and if they're playing your half of the pitch, those kind of chances kind of just fall that way a little bit. It was just. With the Ruffles selection, not that it was a fault for that second goal. I still can't believe Ruffles was picked. I actually thought we'd have gone with Spencer as a right wing back, and even maybe chuck Turton over onto the left hand side, or keep Turton on the right and put Spencer on the left hand side. Because Ruffles, since he's come in this season, is just not. He's looked pretty off it, and probably more off it than anyone else in the team, bar our strikers. But again, we've been over that so many times. It was just the selection I thought was wrong, and I thought from the first moment it looked wrong. And when he went into half-time, it were pretty clear the substitutions that needed to be made. And it's quite nice, though, isn't it, Michael Duff? Generally, when you think a substitution needs to be made, he does. He's not scared of going in and doing it. He's making, well, it's a bad sign, I suppose, if you're making loads of changes at half-time. It's not. It must mean your season's not going too great, even though I think most of us would say it's actually better than we expected at this point. But it was just, I think Duff got it wrong. But I suppose the sign of a good manager is if they do get it wrong in the first instance, they can change it and still get something positive out of it. And luckily for us, we kind of got our shit together at half time.
We did. It was all a bit. I mean, we didn't really go for them, did we? First half, everyone's miserable. Lincoln fans were as graceful as ever in scoring. Perfect gentlemen, weren't they? And as ever, they were, But we're going at half time. Everyone's miserable. Atmosphere's flat as a witch's tit. Everyone's down. But then, as you're saying, he rings the changes. Pearson, I mean, was he ill or was he injured?
Yeah, he was ill.
He was sick, wasn't he? So Spencer comes on. Callum Marshall comes on for Ruffles. And then Sorensen comes on. And it just looked a completely different game from then on. And as soon as they started putting pressure on him, to me, Lincoln just went back into themselves. And again, it's a nice goal, isn't it? Like our first goal. Karoma does really well down that left-hand side. It's a nice run, nice measured chip crossing, just the right pace, and so it's a nice header, and suddenly we're back in it, aren't we? And it all changes.
Well, you could see him dropping back, couldn't you? Dropping further back and further back. And you're thinking, no, surely they're not going to do what Town would do with it with a 2-0 lead. Surely they're not going to be that silly. They've played us off the park first half. Surely they just keep on doing what they did. But maybe the bit more pace down the left and right meant that they couldn't get that ball behind to get onto. So, yeah, fair play to Duff for his substitutions. And Karoma was a revelation at left wing back. Whether he's going to be the solution or whether, like you say, Nick, we need to get some more speeding down either flanks in the January winner, I don't know, but yeah, it was surprising it took that long, especially with the decisions that we'll probably talk about that happened 75th minute onwards. But yeah, much improved second half.
Just when Karoma plays on the left hand side, it's like a different player, isn't it? And again, I'm obviously pretty open in that I like him playing as a striker. I still think he's the best we've got. But he's without doubt the most effective when he plays wide left. And when we did swap to that kind of front three with Sorensen wide right as well. Karoma, it's just all you need to do with Karoma is get him one-on-one with a player and stand him up. If he gets the other person stood up, not running at him, but just stood up in a one-on-one, he wins that battle every single time. He's getting a crossing or he's getting a shot away. And we don't have anyone else that can do it. Sorba Thomas used to be able to do it. Absolutely. But Karoma, just when he gets onto that left-hand side, he's just something else. And he were against Mansfield, wasn't he? When he shifted out onto the left-hand side against Lucas Akins at the beginning, he just ripped him to shreds time after time after time. And obviously, with the injuries, he ended up going down the middle, didn't he, quite a bit? And I know that's where his goal came from, but he did look less effective in his all-round play when he moved to that middle. Honestly, Josh Karoma on the left-hand side in League One is a reason for me why I'd change this entire system to being a front three. honestly, I think he has to be out wide on that left-hand side because no one else can deal with him just yet. And maybe this isn't forever. Maybe this is just for a couple of games, and maybe it's just when we need it within games. But we spoke about before, we don't really have a weapon. We've got loads of fans that are weapons, but when it comes to actual players, there's not too many of them that can change a game. But Koroma going on that left-hand side just shifts everything. It's just like a bit of an ace card, a bit of a trump. And we can, other teams struggle to manage that. And Koroma yesterday, to me, him going out on the left-hand side, saved that game. It really, really did. And he's, again, the shit he gets, and I feel like I have to defend now for people I kind of like, but I think he's the best attacking player we have when it comes to creating a little spark of brilliance to bring us back into things. And as soon as he went out there, it looked totally different.
Well, and I think the other thing I like about when he plays on as left wing back is he's using his left foot. He's actually driving to the byline. He's taking advantage of the fact they all think he's going to cut back onto his right every time and try and get a shot off. And he's coming to the byline, and that's what he did. Deriqua showed him back inside, and he went, "No, you're all right, mate." He went around the outside, and as you were saying, it was a lovely ball in. We'd taken a quick free kick. Came from Kane getting fouled. Kane played a really quick free kick and played Koroma in. So all of our centre halves were on their way up for a dead ball delivery into the penalty area. So Lincoln weren't set, and they were attacking the ball, and therefore Brody was running right onto it as it came in. And actually, by the way, that was a really good header because the ball was slightly behind him, and he had to adjust in midair to ping it into the corner. And after that, I'm with you, Andy, their body language changed almost instantly. When you consider how dominant they've been, I guess in those situations when you're 2-0 up away from home, you just want to ride the first 10 minutes out, don't you? You always know the home team's going to come and have a go, and they were probably pissed that they didn't manage to ride it out. But yeah, it was a really good goal, and it came from a bit of quick thinking and quality. Koroma remains our ace in the hole, as you say, Killer. He's the one who genuinely he could play in pretty much most championship teams. If he was transferred, he could play week in, week out at that level. And I'm not sure we've got many more of them.
But I love that, guys. Like you say there, that the goal came from a quick free kick. It just shows you what Duff's saying at half time. It's quite straightforward. It's this first half. We're passing it around. There's no tempo. There's no urgency. There's nothing. It's so lackadaisical. Do it. Get at it. Lift the tempo. And that's what lifting the tempo is. It's those quick. It's really setting the precedent. Trying to lead by. Try and just take it forward as quick as you can. And we've had years, I think, where we've not particularly done that. Neil Warnock does that. That's what Neil Warnock's teams do. They're not lost in these intricacies of little tiny passing movements. No, they play urgent, they play direct, and they play with purpose. And Duff has a real ability, I think, at half time to kind of bring that impetus into us in the second half. And that's what it really showed. I'm not for 68 passes goals. They don't excite me. I like a long ball from a keeper that's quick and a counter-attacking goal with one pass and a goal. That's what I like. That's kind of because it just shows you're aware of a match situation and that you're looking what's going on and you can react and just go. And that's what that first goal came from. And like you say, guys, it's Koroma, though. You can see why people don't like him cutting onto his inside and his right because he scored the other day against was it Mansfield? He did it twice. The second one was.
It was Mansfield, yeah.
Cutting on the right and putting it in far corner. So Dakua, whatever he's called, who is Lasse Sorensen's replacement, and as we spoke about before this podcast, a massive upgrade on Lasse Sorensen. I'd rather him with us just quietly. Obviously, it's a shame what happened to Sorensen saying that, though. So sorry, Lasse, when it comes to your injury, that's not what I'm referring to. But it's just that Koroma there, he likes to turn on his right foot and curling it in. He's watched him back. The analysts and the performance data guys have been looking at him saying, right, don't show him inside. But now he can go on the outside as well and create problems. And just that alone is why I love Michael Duff, because that's a managerial push, a managerial decision at halftime to say, right, boys, get at this. It's a simple instruction. What I don't like from my experience, which again is not at this level, is listening to a coach giving you really vacant messages like, oh, you need to work harder. It means nothing. It's the quick free kicks. It's an instruction people can follow, and you can see there what's been said, it actually happening on the pitch and the goal coming from it. And it's no accident that it's from Michael Duff because he does it week in and week out. And I just love to see it. And I just, honestly, I'm quickly becoming Michael Duff's biggest fan.
I think he's evolving, Ian, as well. You know, the more he gets to know the players, strengths and weaknesses, the more he can sort of tinker with things. And I think we're seeing that more now as the season developing. I'm quite looking forward wherever we are next season, after he's had another pre-season with hopefully some more quality additions, when he's really got to grips with it to see what we can do. Because I agree. I think, look, he had to make changes, didn't he? It was it was awful first half. My beef with them really is we're gunning for promotion. Why are we not setting the tempo from minute one? Why are we not going out there and trying to blow them away in first half an hour? You know, when was the last time we went out and stuck 2 goals in it first half an hour? You know, get home and just completely dominate the game. We just don't do it, do we? We never really come out with high tempo, and I don't really understand why. But we always seem to believe it. Always seems to take us a while to get going, to get into stride.
Nick, I don't mean to interrupt here, but I've just had a quick thought on this. Do you think this could be to do with the fixture congestion? Now, Duff's saying, look, we've got so many games in a row here. We know we're the better team. Do we just go out, take it easy for half an hour, like see what's happening and then kind of go at it second half and we just got it wrong? Do you reckon that could be a possibility? Because obviously we've got so many games coming up.
I don't know, mate. Thing is, we've got so many injuries and illness. It's like an hospital ward, isn't it? That town. Just, you know, I've never seen out like it. I think Huddersfield Town need like 35-man squad just to put a decent team out because we just get so many. They're just dropping like flies. And again, you mentioned it, Sorensen, just coming back. Look decent at Bolton, you know, contributed to the own goal. And then what happens? He pulls up again. And I don't know, mate. Like, I think he's working with what he's got, but we're going to have to bring in additions. That's obvious. But I just think whoever we've got to show more urgency earlier in games. We can't be second best for 45 minutes and expect to win games. We can't start with such a low tempo for the first half an hour because eventually you'll get found, and that's exactly what happened here. You get found out, you come against a half decent side, and you'll be suddenly you're 1, 2, 3 goals down, and it's too late, isn't it?
I said to my lad that we were trying to do something different. I didn't know, couldn't work out what it was, but we looked like we were trying to play different patterns at the start of the half. And maybe it's a combination of, he'd said in his post-match that he got the only 18 players available to the club were part of the squad for Saturday. So, you know, we've only got what we've got, and we were trying to do things differently. And you could see within the first 3 or 4 minutes that we just weren't at it. We just didn't know what we were supposed to be doing. So maybe he's tried to change something a little too late in the week or not. I don't know. Talked about a sickness bug at the club. Maybe the sickness bug's got to the analysts and they've not been able to do as good a job as they might have done normally on how Lincoln could. Because I would expect him, from what I'd read about Lincoln, that they were going to sit back, let us have the ball and try and smash us on the break. And that, you know, they showed some signs of that, but they had way more possession and were a much better team than I thought they were going to be. So maybe complacency, trying to play a new way, only having 18 players available to pick from allegedly, you know, all combination to a slow start. But it, you know, that then confounds how can you be that bad first half and that good second half? Well, just for the change of 2 players, it's strange.
Yeah, frustrating. And then talking of frustration, we had. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm wearing black tonight because I'm in mourning for my fucking sanity because I've been sat for 2 hours just in a dark room, rocking backwards and forwards, just trying to contemplate what the fuck I saw and what happened. Because Ben Wiles breaks through. This is around the 70-odd minute mark. Breaks into the box and their player basically, to all intents and purposes, just rugby tackles into the floor, and everyone's just waiting for the inevitable penalty, and Mr. Alan Young, the referee, gives a goal kick. I mean, guys, can one of you, you know, obviously a lot more technically minded and cleverer than me, explain how the fuck that's not a penalty? Because I don't understand.
Well, obviously I'm in upper tier, so I'm a long way away, right? I'm at the other side of the ground in the upper tier, and it was Stonewall. You could see him pull him down, but the way thing was, he didn't give the goal kick straight away. I think he looked at the linesman and the linesman looked at him. I don't know whether he was looking for help from the linesman or what. I don't really know. Because there's the replay from behind the goal where you see it quite clearly, you can see a couple of Lincoln players, they more or less go, oh, fucking hell, here we go. They thought, even Lincoln players thought he was going to give a penalty and couldn't believe it when he did. But yeah, we seem to be getting a bit of that, don't we? I know League One referees are going to be of a standard. I accept that. And they don't make mistakes on purpose. The bloke's only human. But, I mean, let's be honest. It's a stone wall. Everybody in the ground can see it's a stone wall by that bloke. Madness.
If you want us, it'd be fun, right?
But we had Charlie Pym last week, didn't we? Right at that point, I'm like, worst refereeing decision I've ever seen. He's absolutely creamed Karoma, and then I got sent off. And like, what? How's that happened? And then this week, right. It's alright saying I know it's a League One referee, right? Around the country, there are thousands of games every week, and everyone has a referee. You've got 10 games in the Premier League on a weekend. So, right, the best 10 in the country, referee in the Premier League, right? We're only a couple of divisions down. Surely you can find 100 referees in the country that can give that. And the thing is, right, you play local league football. Honestly, there's challenges like that every 5 minutes that refs got a tough decision to make. In professional football, how many hard decisions is it to make in a game? What, 2, maybe? Like, there's hardly anything. Most of it's really quite straightforward. So it's not even like there's so many decisions thrown at them and they've just got to get the one right because otherwise everyone picks up on it. I cannot believe that can happen where he took 2 goals at him. He tried to grab him once, didn't quite get him and just chucked him over. And it's like, what? How can you not? It's laughable. I don't understand it. And now I'm a believer that referees you should try and talk people in who's played before into refereeing. A lot of referees haven't played before, I think, and that's kind of where they become referees. So when the ones that I've experienced that I've played before, they understand the game a bit differently. But honestly, how you can see a guy take 2 pushes, and Ben Wiles, someone else, Steve said he's been a ghost again. He has. Well, do you know who Ben Wiles reminds me of? Thinking now, it's Michael Collins, where he'd do nothing for most of the game, but whenever anything did happen, it only came through him. He's a luxury player, but in that luxury, he creates goals and chances, and other people can't seem to do that. So you just have to hope his effort can kind of make up for what he's missing, and then his goals and chance creation kind of covers everything else. And Ben Wiles, for me, does that every other week, and that's why even when he's a ghost, he's that moment where if we win a penalty, we probably win the game if we score at that point, and that'd be from a Wiles run. Because again, we weren't creating too many clear-cut chances, were we, at that point? Even though we were on top in the game, it wasn't like chance after chance after chance after chance where we should have scored. But I just don't understand how he's not given that as a penalty. And like you say, guys, when it's a flash in the pan moment and not a red card because it's in the middle and there's a lot going on, it's one thing. But when it's like that, you can clearly see what's happened. So he must have thought Wiles has dived, surely. That must be what he's gone with.
But then he don't book him.
As well. He hasn't booked him though.
And that's what frustrates me. That's what frustrates me even more. It's like shithousing, isn't it? Either you think he's booked, you think he's dived, and I can accept that. Because you think he's dived there and you've got it wrong. Absolutely. But how can you not book him for diving, but then say it's not a penalty when he's clearly pushed him? There's clearly contact. He's got it wrong. So it's
wrong. Not like they're both falling into each other because he's coming from behind. Like I can't. The more times I watch it, the more I'm confused. Because I mean, surely at the end of the game, I don't know. Do they have a debrief? Do they get the chance for the referee to respond or ask questions of the performance? Because I don't know how it can. I don't know. I'll be very interested to know what Mr. Young saw there because I just can't see how that's not a penalty. And like you say, Ian, that could be pivotal, that decision, because that's in the 70-odd minute. We score that. All of a sudden, we've got plenty of time there to go on and get another one. That completely changes the game. And yeah, we're laughing about it. But at the end of the day, like if we're third in the league at the end of the season, 2 points off, you look to decisions like this and think, well, it's just not acceptable, is it? It's the worst refereeing decision I've seen since last week, since the last fucking one that we didn't get against Mansfield. But that's it, isn't it? It's getting every week here. I can't honestly like I watched it about 4 or 5 times because I thought I must be missing. Maybe there's another angle which shows it wasn't as bad as what it looked. But no, everywhere you look, it's just a clear penalty, and no, just gives a goal kick and just carry on. Okay. And then, but thankfully, we managed to get the equaliser, don't we? And it's Alan Callum Marshall who's struggled a bit. Spencer plays him in, but he does well. It's a good finish. I think it hits off the keeper and in. But he hits it with power and more relief than anything, really, I guess. But I was pleased for the lad because he has struggled a bit of late, so it's nice to see him get on the score sheet again, and hopefully that's going to do his confidence a world of good, isn't it?
I thought he was much better when he came on Saturday than he had been at Mansfield. we were criticising him for being a bit of an headless chicken, aren't we? Running around like a nut to no great extent. His press and his challenging and his running seemed to be much more effective. He actually seemed to be tracking runners and making challenges and actually making a difference. Because I think he brought when he brought Ladapo on, I forgot his name. When he brought Ladapo on, we went to a 3 up top, and Marshall went and played on the right hand side. And I thought he actually did all right out there. I thought he caused them quite a few problems, but it was a lovely finish. Because the ball was fired into him by Spencer. His first touch on his left's really cute, and then he just, as you say, Nick, he absolutely buried it, and the keeper got a good strong foot on it. Might have even taken a deflection as well, actually. But the keeper got a good strong foot on it, but it still had enough power to bounce up off his leg and into the roof of the net. Because from where I was, so I thought he'd turn around the post keeper at first until it hit the net. But yeah, it was probably a deserved equaliser, and we created a few chances. Jaheim Headley, who's had a bit of a mixed run when he's been in the team lately, came on, and I thought he did all right. He created 3. He kept, for some reason, he seems to fall over within 20 yards. Anywhere within 20 yards of his own goal line, he can't stand up. Get him with 20 yards from their goal line, and he's a demon. He couldn't stop running. So the goal, the equaliser was definitely deserved. I thought it was no more than we deserved, and a draw's probably a fair result in the end. But I think if we'd have gone on to win it, I'm not sure that Lincoln could have complained too much.
No, and look, you've got to praise them where it's due. To me, it's disappointing not to win at home against a side who have been struggling for form. But to come back from 2-0 down at half time, that's something that Town just haven't done recently. And to me, we are making progress, although it's not obvious really in terms of league position. We are, it's another little box ticked in it. We've come back from 2 down. We've shown character, fight, determination. They've not given up. They've kept going. So now, hopefully, if it ever happens again, we can go and do it again. And slowly but surely, I think Michael Duff's instilling a bit more confidence into this side, and we're starting to believe that we can come back and get results again. And that was the most encouraging thing for me from yesterday, to see us fight back, not to just let us heads drop and give up. Because at one point, it would have been 3-0, wouldn't it? Like, it would have been. We might as well have gone home at half time, let's be honest. But now, they're just starting to get that little bit of belief back that, no, we do have what it takes to come back and get a point where we would have got none.
Yeah, Mark Harrison's just put in chat the thing that I put down. First time since April 2015 since we come back from 2 down. Wow, which is a damning of the squads. Even the great 16-17 squad didn't manage to do that. And the 17-18 squad in the Premier League didn't manage to do it. So, that is a long time. They're showing a bit of arse, a bit of we like 5, 6, 7 weeks ago they just rolled over and died. It would have been a 3-0 or a 3-1, and we'd have all like Northampton. And but they've got something about them. And I think a lot of it is to do with the way that Duff is running the place. He's a no nonsense type of guy. He doesn't. I don't think he takes any shit. And if you don't behave in the way that he wants you to, so if you show that weakness, you're probably not going to make it in his team. And that's what he's there to do. He's not there to be their mates. Is one of the things he said first off, right at the beginning, and I think he's sticking to that. He's making the right decisions for the club, and long may it continue. So yeah.
That is a positive from this, isn't it? Like I say, 2-0 down to drawing, and maybe in the long grand scheme of things, it could be whilst Nick, I'm with you, and I think it's 2 points dropped in that if the ref gives a penalty when he should have done, we probably win that game. And obviously, it's even better than that you've come back from 2-0 down and 1-3-2. But to come back, it's probably more important that we've had that comeback. And okay, 2 points, we should have had more, but to actually have this belief will be really important to the team. And listening to Michael Duff afterwards on Radio Leeds, he sounded quite positive. Obviously, we actually have missed out what happened to Hellick after we did equalise before the end of the game, where there's been a filthy run for Lincoln trying to. It was bang on full time, wasn't it? 98
right,
minutes.
Yeah, 96.
Lincoln's had a free kick, and on the way in, what's he called? Their number 4 was
Monster, is it?
Matmosa or something? Matoma?
So he's made contact with Hellick's face, and and Helic's gone down. And to be fair, it's a bit soft. I will just caveat with that. I don't think there was enough in it for him to go down on the ground as he did. But professional football, that's what happens. Any contact you go down, no problem. But while Helic's down on the ground, the cameras have caught it. He goes back up to him, and it looks as if he's spat at him potentially. And Helic got straight up, which shows you he went down a little bit soft. But he got straight up and was fully at it and wasn't happy with what had gone on. It's just another little bit of a sour taste, wasn't it, to end the game on that note. I don't know how you guys saw it, but it looked like he definitely looked like he had even if he didn't spit at him, he pretended he spat at him to give that kind of impression, which is mental. I get it, but you can't see the actual goss when he leaving his mouth and hitting Helic, but you can see the attempted goss. Whether it connected or not, I don't actually know, but it's just horrible, isn't it, to see. But then none of Lincoln's guys really reacted. I think Kasuma were over it a little bit, if I remember correctly, but it was a strange way to end that game.
I don't believe there was any God involved from what I understand, from where I understand things. I don't think there was any of that involved. I don't know whether he said something to him. And then, because afterwards he was saying, cry like a baby. You could read his lips, cry like a baby on the video. They picked that up on Radio Leeds as well. But I don't think I think he's called him a naughty word, and he's not liked it because, as you say, you can see the guy's arm sort of come through. He hadn't punched him, but he's sort of come through. He's come over the top of another one of our players and caught Helic, and it looks like he's got a bit of a bloody nose. That's why Longwick's brought the towel on. But yeah, I don't think he spat at him, and even if he had, like you said, there's no evidence unless we're going to get some CSI John Smith Stadium involved in it. We're never going to be able to prove that. So I think we just have to go. It is what it is, and thankfully Helic didn't get to him because I said to George,
lost his head, didn't he?
He lost his head, and I've never seen him do that. He said that something must have gone off there for Helic to behave like that. And
he was still at it at the final whistle. They had to drag him off at the final whistle.
Yeah, he weren't happy at all. There was some shenanigans after the final whistle as well. Yeah, so apparently something happened in the tunnel. Apparently that right's got involved in a push and a shove in the tunnel. So the
bouncer got involved in it.
Yeah,
protecting the players. He steamed in. Good old Mark.
Big Mark.
Yeah.
Fucking lie. Apparently that number 4 as he was going off was giving it the big one. And he got involved with Lee Nichols as well.
Did he?
So,
it's just spitting the dummy out.
It is nice, though, isn't it? Though it is nice to see Town unified as that and having a bit of a scrapping about them. You stick up for your teammates. It's really important that that's there because I think we've had seasons recently where that wouldn't have happened. Everyone had been a bit for themselves, whereas now there's some sort of unity. And if it is coming from Mark Carrott, like I mentioned before, after the Wigan game, he was celebrating with all the players, and it was really nice to see, regardless of his transfer record, which is questionable at best. If it comes down to how he is with the players, there seems to be some real support there and like camaraderie, and it is important. Teams again at the top of the division to the bottom of the division, talent. The difference in talent isn't very much, but the belief and things like that is probably more important. And it feels like we're just getting a little bit of that. And when Helic's feeling victimized by a guy who I still think, Andy, he pretended to. I actually think he pretended to spit on him. I think that's generally what happened. Looking at it, I think he's gone to do it to pretend. So he's not getting suspension but then Helic thinks he's done it, and that's when he's gone mental. I think that's how it played out, which I know sounds so controversial. I'm going to have Russell Brand bloody conspiracy theorist here. Maybe this is where I'm going to end up in a few years.
You look a bit. If Ernest grew your hair, you'd look a bit like him.
You know what, Andy, guys, I'm about 6 months. This veganism, my hair's growing better. I tell you what, I'm looking younger. I'm going down that route entirely. But I tell you what, 6 years, is it 6 years we started Town Social now? 5-6 years, right? We're now talking about a whodunit on a did he spit or did he not spit, and we're bringing VAR cameras to find out what's actually happened. Who would have thought we'd have ended up here, boys? Anyway, it's nice to be here, but I just didn't expect it, I'll be honest.
I just think it's sour grapes from Lincoln. I just think it's spat his dummy out, like just trying to get Helic involved, trying to get some punishment for him. And I think Chapman does well because he kind of gets hold of him and drags him away, which is quite nice to see from relatively young keeper, just having that bit of nous to say, no, let's keep him away from situation. But yeah, it's pathetic really. But that's what you get when you get a late equaliser. They start crying, don't they, opposition, and then start doing some nasty things to try and make up for it, but it didn't work, thankfully. And the crowd came under a bit of fire from some supporters, lads. Not for the first time, saying we're not getting behind them. Like the atmosphere isn't what it should be, considering where we are in the table. I just want to get your opinions on it because, to me, like you've got to. And Michael Duff talked a little bit about this in his sort of post-match, saying, but they at the end of the day, they've got to give them something to get behind. And I mean, we didn't really get out of the zone half much in that first half. It's hard to really get pumped up and get behind when you're not seeing anything in return. But is it all in the place to do that, or really do we as supporters need to take a bit more responsibility and step up and sort of lead from the front? What do you guys reckon?
Well, I'm with you and Duff. I think is it any wonder the atmosphere with dog shit first half watching that? And then, once the goal went on 48 minutes in the second half, I thought the crowd were great. I thought they were involved. I thought, and that's another reason why I'm really surprised he didn't give the pen. I thought what at points the crowd got into the refs' ribs. And we've seen that before, haven't we? Oh, when the crowds get into the refs' ribs at John Smith's, we do get decisions sometimes we probably wouldn't get. But and the problem is I think you might have said it at half time, Nick. This is the problem is that we see this all too often. We all start to think we're mending bridges and we're turning the corner, and then we put 45 minutes in like that. Andy's just said we haven't come from behind, from 2 down in 9 years. Is it any wonder the crowd are lethargic? It's going to take more than an unbeaten run against a load of average League One teams for us to be convinced that we've turned the corner and the crowd are going to be unconditional like they were in the Wagner era, because that was unconditional, wasn't it? It was unconditional two-way support, and I think that at the minute, I'm not sure people criticising the crowd helps either. I think the crowd are still turning up in bloody good numbers for League One, paying the money and giving them the support. And at the away games, especially, the atmosphere has been really good. So I'm not seeing it at away games, which sometimes is where it can get really poisonous, because they're the ones who are the real diehards out there that go a long ways, and you see really, you travel all that way and see a shit performance, and then you end up with. With the instances like we had before with players bickering with the crowd. So yeah, I don't really take much. I don't really take much notice. I think the crowd at Huddersfield are as good as any once the team are performing.
I think the thing that happened at Mansfield with that I tweeted to the effect I felt there was a bit more of a connection. It came from Johnny Ogg giving it a come on. You know what he's like? He gives it a big come on, and he got a big roar on the back of that, and then he got a smile a while on the back of that. So that just shows for me the power that the players have with the crowd, and it's not just about the football. If they give a come on, we need some help. If they ask for it, if you can see they're giving their heart and soul for it, they'll get it. It's when you don't see anything from them that you will assume that it's not good, and we won't give what we could or we should. I completely agree, guys. We're no better or no worse than any other group of football supporters in the Football League, particularly in League One. The 16, 17, 17, 18 crowds and the noise and the atmosphere, Pochettino saying that was the best atmosphere in the Premier League. They're outliers for me. That's not how it's been for most of my time going to either Leeds Road or to the John Smiths. So this is as much as it's always been. And it depends a lot on what the players almost ask for. They will get back, but they've got to show some sort of connection with us. For me, I'm still a little bit disappointed with the stuff away from home. There's a chance for them to start to build that gap. So all right, it might cost them 50 quid each if they give a shirt to a kid in the crowd. Give a shirt to a kid in the crowd. How much difference does that make? Maybe not that much, but if it builds up over time, if you know that you're going to get that interaction, that connection with your own team, then you're going to get that little bit more from them. The players have as much responsibility for me with not just the game they play, but the interaction with the fans as well. So I think they've got something else. It's all right saying come on, we're providing you the football. They've also got to get something involved. The likes of Tommy Cowan going back in the day, the salute to the Kill in the Bank when we won again. We don't get stuff like that. Yes, they come over and they applaud the Cowshed Loyal. Do the entire ground. And I know Duff walks around and applauds, and he's leading what he expects. I think the players have got to do not just after the game. I think they've got to do it before and during the game as well. And slowly that will build. But you can't expect it to go from nothing to, 16, 17, 18 levels without some sort of intervention from the players. So I think there's a little bit there for me.
We've still got an ego as a fan base in that we think we're too big for League One.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. I think a lot of fans go down thinking, we should be pumping Lincoln, no problem. It really, we shouldn't have to get to. We shouldn't be struggling against teams like Lincoln. We're better than they are. We're big. We were in Premier League a few years ago, and I think it takes a while for that to kind of go.
Yeah,
I think it is going slowly. When we're winning games now, it's a little bit better. But then when you're facing a little bit of adversity, I know it's hypocritical me saying this after saying that first half yesterday was unacceptable, and it was unacceptable. But I still think, regardless, even if Town played really, really well, but we're 2-0 down, you'd have the same kind of same old shit. And I just think it's because Town fans think us to be better than this, and we're not. Unfortunately, we're in this division because we deserve to be in this division because of the finances invested in the squad. Or the decisions made with the money invested into the squad hasn't been good enough, and we're here on merit. No other reason. We deserve to be. We are a League One club because we deserve to be a League One club, and we shouldn't be beating everybody in League One because we're here on merit. And I think it takes a bit of time for that to kind of reset. That's all. And that undercurrent will be there for a long while. I think if we don't go up this year, it'll be there next year. Last time we were in League One, we've been to Division 3. And we obviously came up to. Did it change? I think the first season we came back up from Division 3 to League One. I can't remember if it were Division 2 at that point. Regardless, that was a different kind of feeling. And then obviously, if Dean Hall's money came in, then we had the same issue because we were outspending everybody else. So you're like, well, we should have beaten these teams. We're outspending. We're not spending the same as what we did then. Birmingham are doing it now in a more modern relative way, absolutely. But I think fans still have that issue, and I just think that's always going to be there, and we just kind of have to ignore it and crack on. But in time, it'll get better. But for now, there's always going to be murmurs when it's not going great.
I think it doesn't help though when you've got messages from the top of the club saying, "Right, we'll get promotion. We're going for promotion. We're going to get," because I don't know. I mean, I've never saw us as a top 2 side. I don't know. We don't have the consistency for that. You need to win 6, 7, 8 games in a row for that. We've gone umpteen unbeaten and we've still lost ground on top 2.
And Nick, I think that's an Americanism though, Nick. In American sports, there's no relegations. It's all about this season. We're going to do it this season. We're going to do it this season. Now, for me and for us, I think, having been in English football for me 36 years, and I think you boys just a little bit tad longer, is that it's not just about this season. It's about the seasons afterwards, because to build something, it takes a while to kind of get there. And I think we're quite a mature fan base town. And if the message, like you say, Nick, was we want to be like Dean Oil, very obviously he's an incredibly smart bloke. It's want to be a top 30 club, and it's something that's achievable. We can all relate to. We can all understand it's achievable, and we actually went further than that. But it was initially we're going to get to be a top 30 club by a medium-term goal, right? So if it doesn't go right on day one, nobody's like, "Well, you said it was going to be fine this year. You said it was going to be fine." No, Dean Oil never did that. He said we'll get there. And there'll be some peaks and troughs along the way, but that's where we're going. And I think if they came out and said that, would all take to it a little bit better. We want to get back to being a top 30 club in 5 years, and we'll try and get there. But the Americanization, I think, and is quite a different approach, because they have a total different system when it comes to winning and how to judge the clubs. And I think that's the miscommunication. It's just a misunderstanding. It's not that they want anything different. It's not that. I just think it's a bit of a disconnect, Nick. But you're right. I think that is one of the big problems.
I get it, and you want to be positive, don't you? You want to be right. We're going for. You want to be like that, but at the same time, when them sort of messages are coming out, fans sometimes set unrealistic expectation. And then you look at what happened in the summer as a prime example. We went for a couple of strikers, we didn't get them. No fault of our own, really. But then that set the tone, didn't it? So then everyone we're absolutely gutted, disappointment. Oh shit, we should be signing we're going for promotion, so we should be getting players like your Alfie Mays and Joe Taylors and what have you. And it'll be exactly the same this window. Now we could talk about a bit, but Kev's done another diary, and in that he's saying, well, we've got a few lined up. I think fans are going to be really happy with these. So immediately that set a tone to the fan base, thinking, well, bloody hell, who are we getting here? I'm getting excited thinking these are going to be now. They might be amazing. Like they might come in and if fair play, if they are. And I am excited to see who comes in. But if they're not, what fans are suddenly expecting now, we're on a downer again before we start, and of no fault really of any. But when you're putting those sort of messages out, when you do it, it's just setting up for a fall when you don't need to. You don't need to do that.
I think it'd be better though, Nick. I think you're right, but I do think it's a little bit toned down to what it has been previously. Andy's probably going to be pretty good on this one when it comes to communication and setting expectations from a professional standpoint. I actually think it's a little bit toned down and the messages are a little bit more subtle than they were before. For me, I'd have still liked them to have come out and said, we were trying to bring the guys in the summer. Now, I do feel Dean Hoyle would have done this style. I'd have said, look, we were trying to bring him in. We couldn't. We would have had to overpay. And if we'd have overpaid and it had gone wrong, we'd have not recovered for 3 or 4 years. So we have to wait. And sometimes you have to wait. And when you're waiting, you miss out on certain targets. But then in January, we'll try and get it right. Just that's what works for me. And I think that's kind of what works for Town fans. And I think that's kind of the way Dean Hoyle went about his business. But I suppose half the problem for the new ownership and the new people running it is that we do this. We all sit here and we talk about what Dean Hoyle would have done and what he did do. And because we made the Premier League, we can always say what he did work because look where we ended up. We're forgetting that he spent millions to get us there, that Kevin, obviously he's spending money, but I don't think any of us expect it to be at the same level that Dean Hoyle spent to get us where we eventually got. And I think that's kind of the issue, but I do think they're improving. And just like now, they kind of do a lot of work, Town, and then afterwards say what they've done. Whereas previously, I think initially when they came in, it was all about what they were going to do rather than what they had done. And that upset a lot of people. And now there's a shift there. So we can sit here and say, Michael Duff's adapting, he's changing, and he is. I also think Town are, and they're getting a lot more things right now than they did initially. And that is good to see. Obviously, they're all very smart people, and I'm sure they will get it right eventually. But they are up against it with certain fans, I think.
I think Kev can be a bit of a guinea keeper as well. He likes the little dangle of he likes the glow that he gets back when he sort of hints that they're going to get we're going to get some decent signings. So it's funny, whenever you see him, he's usually got somebody else from the club with him just to make sure he doesn't start promising Messi coming next season and stuff like that. Because I think if he could, he would. He'd love to do something like that. I think he genuinely has fallen in love with the club and the area. But I think that's something I think that change that you just talked about there, you're absolutely right, Killer, in that it's gone from we are gonna to it's now we've done this and we'll let you know about it. And that's a much better way of doing it. And there'll always be people who want more, but that, we want the best for our club, don't we? But into the video diary that was in from the back of the car, I didn't take much from it. I don't know what you guys took from it. They start talking about bloody Leeds again, which irritates the arse off me. Just stop it. Just don't. But there's no need. Why bother? I appreciate the effort. No other fan base gets it, so I'm very grateful for the communication we do get from them. I just didn't take much from this one. It was only about 9 minutes long, wasn't it? And 3 minutes of that were taking the mickey out of people from Leeds. So. Not too much to say for. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but that was my view on it.
He was on Radio Leeds in the afternoon as well, when he'd spoken to Oggy and said pretty much the same stuff.
Right.
He blowing smoke up our fans know they're sophisticated. They know what we need. No, mate, we've just been watching it a fucking lot longer than you have. We're not that sophisticated.
He must listen to this pod, mate. That's why.
Is that what
he's going off us, isn't it? Well, it must be, mate. He's going off us, isn't it?
I'm sure that when we get reviewed in the Guardian, I'm sure sophisticated is the word they'll use. He basically implying, we're going to be excited by the signs they're bringing in, and deals are already done. He then caveats that with, all being well or whatever it was he said. Well, the last time they told us we were going to be excited about the signings, we got Radulovic, fucking biscuit knees, Ely, and Bolka. So, excuse me if I don't get Nick sticky chops. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see what fucking happens. Because even if they bring, obviously the red hot rumor is Taylor, isn't it? That Taylor's a done deal and he's coming. That's a gamble for me. I mean, the kid had half a season at Lincoln and did all right. He can't get a kick at Lincoln. He can't get a kick at Luton. We're absolutely in the toilet, really up against it, and he can't get a kick. So, Alfie May was at a different level. That would have been a signing that really would have made a proper statement. But I'm not sure anything else we've done since our side. Well, we'll see. We all know what we need. We need a striker who knows where the net is. We know we need cover at wing back, don't we? We know that. Sorensen's looks like, he's going to be out again, isn't he? So the 2 wing backs who signed, both of them had injury concerns. Guess what? They've been injured. So, we need some strength at wing back, and we're not a million miles away at that. I don't think we need much else. I really don't. He only needs 2 or 3 here. He don't need to go nuts, does he? But yeah, we'll see, Kev. I'll tell you whether I'm satisfied when I find out who they are.
The people who leave, I think, is going to be just as important as people come in. Our squad's big. It's massive. Like with Andy's Tommy Pender, he's kind of ripe to go out on loan, and he needs to go to League Two and get 20 games between now and the end of the season, and hopefully come back like Lewis O'Brien did and Jack Hunt years ago, and look a total different Brodie Spencer, obviously recently, and look a total different player. He needs to get those kind of starts. And our squad's massive. Look at midfielders that we've got, like I say, in front of the top. You've got Hoggy. I know we've got injuries, but still we've got Hoggy, Hodge, Evans out with a bruised toe or broken toe, whatever's an issue there. But we've got so many players. Oh, and then even the strikers. You still got Freddie. You still got Radulovic. They're like for like, and they're not much of an improvement. If you just look at the numbers and people that are getting a first team wage, we have a lot of players there. I don't expect too much movement in January. We need another striker. We definitely need a change of pace striker. Not a fast guy, but a big, tall bruiser. I think that's what we kind of need to just give us something different. We need another wing back if he's going to persist with the wing backs, because after Miller and Sorensen, we're kind of shoehorning people in there to do half of a job. I like Karoma wide left. I don't like him as a wing back. I think in games you're going to be too deep in certain games, and it's just not going to be the kind of game for him. But I tell you what I did like about that diary though. Kev's chucking in town a lot more. There's no Huddersfield anymore. It's not Huddersfield or soccer. It's football and town. And he's learning. He's a very smart bloke, and I think this January is going to be massive. Not just to see who we do bring in, but it's that you can now compare what happens this January to last January. What happens is you've got a few more things that you can compare, and you can kind of see a trend of change, and hopefully it is going the right direction. It's another big January for us. But you know what? We're never going to sit here ever and say this January is not massive, this transfer window is not massive. It's always massive because football's so competitive and always changing. You always have to be trying your best to improve, and Town are no different, and they'll be doing it again this year. I'll say it again. I think this is nothing to do with obviously father-in-law sponsor a game in a few weeks and me having to sit there with all directors and behave myself and make sure no one comes and says something because we've been a bit harsh on this one. Nothing to do with that whatsoever, but it does seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting better, but January is another moment where I think we'll have to really see what happens and where we can go on the back of it. But an interesting one for us, isn't it?
My heart bleeds for you and having to sit in that director's box, mate. It must be awful. Honestly, I know what you're saying here. Like we do have quite an inflated squad, but they're all ill or injured. Like there's no good having like 30 players and there's only 15 available. So we're going to have to bring some reinforcements in. And to me, a striker and 2 wing back, I think we need 2 because I think pace on the wing back positions it's evident that's what we need. They're so pivotal to this system that he plays. Is Ruffles going to be a long-term no? Is Turton going to be a long-term no? So we've got to look towards the future. Yeah. So to me, it's imperative we get at least 1, if not 2 wing-backs and a striker that can actually score a goal. It'll be interesting. I mean, as usual, it'll be chaos, won't it? So we'll get someone in early and then everyone start panicking. Then there'll be a gap and it'll be all overreaction on Twitter and down at the Mac and what have you, everyone's slating everything, and then suddenly it'll be like up and down, and then we'll come out of it, and then who we've signed will probably get injured. So it's usually the case. So anyway, talking of players, shall we go back to what Andy said about positive impact? Because I think we're coming towards the end of it now. So I think let's revisit it, shall we? Have we had a chance to think of any? Let's finish on a positive note, shall we? Ian, we'll start with you, mate. What player do you think's been the best performance?
Well, was it Mark Harrison that mentioned Sodje? I think it was one. It's saying that we're like on the scale.
Let's find it. There we go. Look.
However, right. Do you know what's really brilliant though, right? Because on the other end of the scale, from that exact game, you can pick somebody out. John McAliskey's first full debut was that game. And if you remember, Town found himself torn down, and in the last 5 minutes, John McAliskey turned into prime Cristiano Ronaldo on headers. and scored in the last 2 minutes, and we won 3-2, and we ended up with 9 men because Danny Schofield got sent off right end as well. So to me, you've got you can have Tom Edwards and Efe Sodje on that end of the scale, but John McAllister against Scunthorpe in 2000 and whenever it is was unbelievable. That is to this day. Someone might chuck in Clive Vinard against Palace in that 7-1, I think. But it was wasn't it? I can't remember. But no, John McAllister in that game where Sodje was horrendous was unbelievable. And for me, it's probably the best Town performance I've ever seen in a very short period of time.
I think if I remember rightly, he walked up to Huddersfield bus station and got bus home to Golka, didn't he, after the game? And that's the sort of level we were at that time. It just summed it up, that, didn't it? But it was a great performance, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that game. It was a good one, that. That's when we did come back from behind in the good old days. Gaz?
I've got 2, I think. One was probably the best, but I still... The 2 best Town players I've ever seen in the flesh, Rhodes and Moy. Rhodes, the 4-all at Sheffield Wednesday, where he scored all 4 goals. He was absolutely unplayable that day. He was brilliant, and he scored the 4th goal in the 97th minute, just as we were all about to try and walk, all trying to walk out of Lippins Lane, huffing and puffing, and he raced through and smashed it in. And then the other was when we played Leeds away in the promotion, might be in the promotion 16, I think. And Moy played. We had 70% possession at Ellen Road, and he absolutely ran the game. And then, of course, scored that screamer, so we won 1-0. He was unbelievable that day. So, without going into it too deep, I think they're probably the 2. But yeah, especially Rhodes away at Wednesday, he was unplayable that day.
That was the game I took my what was then girlfriend, now wife. That was the first game I took her to. So it started off high, and then she was like, ever since then it's been shite. Been downhill. She's like, oh, this is really entertaining. I really enjoyed that. And then every other game has been utter shite since then for poor lass.
In fairness, she still lends you a jumper, Nick, so it's not all done. Is it?
You wouldn't understand, Gaz. It's called style, mate. Yeah.
All right, fair dues.
Andy, what about you?
Well, yeah, mine's already been mentioned, but not the game, but the player. Obviously, Jordan Rhodes is a Town legend. If anybody can ever beat scoring 5 goals away from home, sorry, no Town player's ever done that or will ever do that again. So that night away at Wickham, he was absolutely on a different planet. So if you're comparing, for me, it's the Edwards Rhodes scale. And I would, the Jordan Rhodes, the 4 goals away at Sheffield Wednesday, yeah, but 5 away at Wickham. You ain't beating that for me, so that's who I'm putting in there. But I'd be interested to see what anybody else would come up with. I'm trying to think of a Mally Brown version, because Mally Brown's my favourite player of all time, but he was just class all the time. So any game that Mally Brown played in, or Jordan Rhodes away at Wickham Wanderers when he scored 5, would be for me.
Yeah, that's you stole mine, Andy. Really, I was going to go for that Rhodes one because it's one of obvious choice, isn't it? It was just unplayable that night. It was absolutely incredible. I remember thinking, this guy, if we can keep hold of this guy, then we're on a blinder here. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. The only other guy I was trying to think more back in history a little bit, trying to think of something more left field. And the only guy I think, maybe not performance, but to come in and change the team was Peter Unlove. And he came in on loan, I think, in 2001 season. And we were dog shit at that time. I don't think we couldn't score a goal. We were toothless. And he came in and I think he scored 2 on one of his first game. And he completely transformed the team from utterly dreadful to a really dangerous outfit. So to me, just to play, it's maybe not the best individual performance, but actually come in and impacted a team. I would say Peter Unlove from back in the day as a left field choice.
Have we got anybody else at the Edwards end of it though? Have we got anybody else that will be anywhere near Tom Edwards at Leeds? I'm thinking
all right, yeah. Well, Sodje against Scunthorpe, absolutely, and also the entire team against Plymouth when Plymouth had 9 men and we beat them by a goal. Oh my! Well, that's 2008, 2009. One of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've ever seen. And every Town player in that team, which we will find for the next podcast, I'm going to go back and name them as like a roll honor of shame. Roll of shame to go through the worst players we've had. But that entire game was the worst one I can ever remember being a Town fan. But we've all obviously had some absolute shockers. But still, come on, Tom Edwards, we're awful. It gave away 3 goals in first 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And continue to be played. So there you go. I still don't think anything's as bad as that.
Okay.
I think part of it were management as well. Like, who put him against Somerville? You might as well put me there. Like, it'd be just as effective. I've no idea what he was thinking. I mean, he set him up to fail right from the beginning. Poor guy, didn't he? But anyway, so I think, yeah, look, we've done 1 hour and 20 there. A lot to talk about. Ultimately, mixed emotions, disappointed because I thought we had a chance with this run of games to get on a real consistent run of wins, 6, 7, 8 wins, really push on. We're only 7 points behind, but at the end of the day, they just don't stop winning, these teams at the top, and yet you have to keep going. And although it was really, really promising that we came back, I just still left wanting a little bit. I'd like to see us win, but we've got Cambridge on a Friday night. You can't get a more glamorous fixture than that, can you?
True.
How do we go into this, guys? How do we set up? I mean, this is a game again on paper we really need to be winning. Difficult because it's away from home. They're always difficult away on a Friday night. But come on, we've got to go and get 3 points if we have any ambition of going up.
Mad Friday as well, isn't it? So they'll be on air after the game with all Town players and all Town fans. So. And obviously we've got the spectre of Elias Kachunga potentially having his one ever good game for Cambridge and coming back to haunt us, as he loves us.
I think he had his Saturday, scored against Wrexham, didn't he? And at Wrexham, did Kachunga on Saturday. So hopefully that's his good game for the season. It'd be lovely to see him actually, won't it, in fairness? There's not many of that team playing still. So be lovely to see him. I've got my tickets, so I'm going down at the game. Are you going, Andy? You got tickets?
I don't know. I might suit. Have you got any room in your car?
Well, I have, but I'm going from Derby, so I'm not sure that's much else helped you.
All right. No, it's not. No, all right, never mind.
Yeah, but I think I'm with you, Nick. We've got to go there confident. I think the one thing we can all definitely agree on is there'll be no Ruffles or Turton at wing back. I'm fairly sure he's not going to do that again.
No.
And it's a game we've got to win. Although they've taken 4 points out of the last 6, including taking a point off Wrexham in the last game. So they're clearly starting to find a little bit of form and a little bit of confidence. But, they're at this stage of the season, they're bottom 3 for a reason, aren't they? We're well into the season now. So it's a game we've got to go and win. You haven't asked for a score prediction, Nick, but I'm going to give you one anyway. I'm saying 2-0 Town.
Nice. Ian, what do we think?
I think Cambridge aren't bad. They've just drawn 2-2 at Wrexham. It's a tricky game. I think they've got the shit together. They were adrift not long back, and they've kind of got themselves back into it. So many games, so many days. I'll go 1-1 draw. Draw. I think, I'm thrown. Honestly, Nick, before this weekend, I'd got 3 bang-on scores and goal scorers. I was spot on. And now this week's totally thrown me. And I'm just going to play it shit house and go for a 1-1 draw. Because in football, when you're predicting scores, as my Super Soccer 6 tells you, if in doubt, 1-1 it out. And that's where I'm going this weekend.
Fair dues.
Andy?
2-1 Town. A Kachunga for them. Marshall and Karoma again for us.
Nice. It's always potential for us to fuck up because it's Town, isn't it? It wouldn't be Town without, going to somewhere down near the bottom and losing. But look, come on, it's nearly Christmas, isn't it? Let's have a bit of Christmas cheer. 3-1 Town. Ellick, Karoma, Wiles. And we'll go into the festive season all jolly and happy and everything's roses. I think we've got to beat these. I know what you're saying, Ian. It's tougher than it looks, but we have to get results of these teams if we're going to be even in the playoffs. If we're going to consolidate in the playoffs, we've got to do it, haven't we? So Here's hoping, guys. I mean, are we going to do an episode after that before Christmas, before everyone's holidays? We'll see what we're all doing. If we can, we will, of course, to our adoring
Episode
fans.
69.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Why? What do you mean? What does that?
Yeah.
I thought we
I
got
don't
to
understand.
69. Have we gone backwards?
This
Oh, right,
is
imagine that.
episode 68, so the next one would logically
I
be
thought last week
69.
was 69. Well, last week not episode 69.
No, 67, mate. Last one.
Was it?
That's why this one's
How old are
68.
you guys? Guys, how old are you?
I have no idea what's going on.
Only reason I remember is because it's written at the top. So
Yeah.
otherwise, I'd forget which one it was.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, we've got a slip of 69 in, haven't we?
Yeah.
Before Christmas, if we can.
Yeah.
That's what everyone wants. It's what everybody wants for Christmas, Nick.
And on that note, we'll call it a day. Gaz, Killer, Andy, thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Thank you to everybody that's listened. Please subscribe to YouTube if you can. If we get 1,000, as we said before, Gaz has kindly donated his signed shirt. So when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we will pick a winner at random, and they will have said signed shirt. So yeah, and it helps us out massively. The more people subscribe, the more it helps the pod. So, but thank you very much for all your comments. We've had a lot of comments tonight, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you before Christmas. If not, have a good one. And yeah, he is hoping for 3 points on Friday. Up the town.
Up the town.